The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Tuesday, the 30th day of September 2025, the final day of September 2025. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindo's, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we can do this with you on a regular basis and pump through the radio airwaves on Hot 107.5 with these most important community conversations. I'm Jamal Hartman, and we'll have a news break from Maya Palacio in a bit. How's everyone feeling today? I missed you all yesterday. I did. Hopefully you all had a fantastic weekend and are getting ready for some wet and windy weather. Tell me something. Is like, are there people out on South Shore doing what Bermudians do on South Shore this time of year? Well, I shouldn't say this time of year, but when this stuff happens, I think people love to go take pictures, and there's a couple people who do things they shouldn't do, like go in the ocean and put others at risk. But hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully, everyone is prepared and looking, hoping for the best, that Bermuda only gets a scrape, if anything. Yeah, happy Tuesday to you. Happy final day of September. And on that, yes, Suzanne Ingham says it's duper. I think she means super awesome, wild, wet, and Humberto Day this Tuesday. I like that. All right, folks. Greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome Dr. Carika Weldon onto the show. We're going to be discussing the important role of genetics. Looking forward to it. Always find these things fascinating. So looking forward to the conversation with Dr. Weldon. The daily play is a remember when. A remember when today. All right. So yeah, get ready for remember when. And folks, if you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, we've got a lot to discuss today. Here's the questions of the morning. What are your thoughts on the town hall last night? And do you believe town hall meetings are helpful? I was concerned. I was very concerned after watching the town hall. I was concerned for a number of reasons, and I think if you all tuned in as well, you would have been concerned. There were some great suggestions, great people speaking. Heard from people that many of us in the community know, like Eugene Dean. Heard from Lamone Woods, the owner of Channel 82. But here's the thing, I guess we have to define as a community what we want out of these town halls. Are they supposed to be venting sessions? Let's be clear. As someone who loses a child or a close loved one, emotions are going to run high. Emotions are going to run high. And so it's really tough in a setting like that to tell people to, maintain their emotions and the like. Back in the day, a lot of people kept mentioning respect last night. Back in the day, the premises of a church were the one place where you actually showed respect, right? And you didn't act out or act a certain way. So it's quite interesting hearing adults say, I'm going to show respect. And then it's almost like when people say with all due respect, and then the disrespect follows. I was concerned for a number of reasons. With last night's conversation. But this is your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure, and we're going to get into it. What are your thoughts on the town hall, and do you think town hall meetings are helpful? Let me just share a clip with you, an audio clip, audience, of the town hall, and it'll explain one of my concerns with the town hall. I'm just gonna share this clip, and hopefully you can hear it come through my computer.
Good evening, Fitzy.
No, not that one. Not that one. Let's go to this one. Okay, here we go.
To stop male violence, you must lobby and take and organize to get the money appropriate for the prevention works, prevention programs that are needed. These men need to be met at the gates with jobs, low-cost housing, healthcare programs, parenting programs, and relationship classes, counseling and retraining programs, re-education programs, training programs, mentoring them. Now, I got to give Minister Weeks and Mr. Beans some credit. And I'm going to tell you why. Because they're putting money into programs that I teach young men. Right now, I have 4 young men that these guys are helping to go to my program.
I'm going to stop it right there. Last night came across as a pitch competition in some respects. I had to go back a couple times and make sure I didn't hear what I thought I heard. Now, I don't know this gentleman. He could be my father's first cousin. And if you know my family, my father got a lot of them. He doesn't even know. But I say that not jokingly, but I don't know the gentleman. He could be a family friend. He could be anybody. But audience, am I wrong? Did he really say we should not criticize Minister Weeks and Pastor Bean because they're giving him money for his program? Is that what last night was about? People seeking money? Let me be very clear with this. All right. I'm going to use myself because I can only use myself as an example. Others haven't given me permission to use their stories. When I went back to Bermuda in 2007, there was a program called YouthNet where I would spend my lunch times going to mentor at Delwood. It's a young boy. But I also went back to coach at North Village. Now, I'll never forget that North Village was giving us, like, say, I guess I can't share publicly, but they were giving us some cash to coach at the end of the year. And I said to the club, well, no, I'm not doing it for that. You can keep that or just donate it to a child or whatever. Fast forward to Bermuda Communications Group. I said to my partners from the inception of this group that what I don't want to do is I don't want government money, funding, any of that. And the reason for, and I'll tell you why it's disturbing to me that so many people were speaking about money and funds and so on last night as it relates to government. Last week, I said on this show that these exempt companies and IB companies continue to play in your face. And I don't care how many black people they have in these companies. I don't care how many black faces they have in top positions. They're playing in the face of Bermudians. Why? Oh, here's $2 here and there. Oh, here's a laptop there and here. Here's this, here's that. But when it came to a meeting like last night, I saw the room. I saw grandparents of people who investigate for committing heinous acts. I saw parents who've lost their children. I identified with quite a lot of people in that room. And while I didn't know everyone, I couldn't identify any people I see on LinkedIn. Yeah, you know, where they love to go on and have these cringe posts about what they're doing in the community. I couldn't identify them. Government money is your money. Politicians are your employees. Why are we always looking to government to pay our way out of this? So that's one issue. This gentleman had the audacity to say that we shouldn't criticize the minister and pastor because he's getting money for a program where he's helping young people. That was unbelievable to me. There were some other people who commented last night. I want to address this. They say experience is the best teacher. But I've long responded to that and said that experience doesn't necessarily mean you have to go through it. Not sure who said it recently, may have been Country Wayne, but he says, a smart man learns from his own experiences, but a wise man learns from the experience of others. I didn't need to be enslaved in South Carolina in the 1800s to understand the impact of slavery. Nor does someone need to be a gangster in the street to understand the impact of violence in our community. You know, someone was vulnerable last night, a mother, where she said, there's no book on parenting. People love to blame the home and the parents. And, you know, I speak to my friends all the time, right? Parenting isn't easy. And at the end of the day, when I went off to college, my parents didn't know what I was into. They didn't know what I was doing. They had no control over it, truly. And I sympathize with that mother last night. Because as children grow, they will do things that you just don't know that they're doing. But when she said there's no book on parenting, she's right. There are people who are fantastic parents, and there are people who, honestly, just have no idea what they're doing. Point I'm making, you don't need to be a parent to understand good and versus bad parenting. We've got to get out of the mindset of thinking that we need to experience something to know how to fix something. And while I appreciate the experiences that we each face, I don't think that my experience necessarily makes me better than someone who wants and can help me. This goes back to when I say we should, you know, I have a very, I have a strong dislike for people who are dismissive. And I start to react to people a certain way like that. Like, I don't mess with you, right? I don't dismiss people because of their experience or lack thereof. Because we only serve to be a disservice to ourselves in the end. I feel like this town hall was a missed opportunity. And it took a white man last night, a white gentleman who was there, to actually address one of the root causes. It took another person to discuss the trauma that's associated. I had a friend call me last week. Said he was dropping his child off to school. And he said, man, I already knew it, but seeing it told me how fractured and broken our community is and how much the trauma many years from now is going to be. I said, what do you mean? And he said to me, when I dropped my child off to school, so was the parent of one of the most recent murder victims dropping their child. So was the grandchild of a murder victim. All of these children going to school together. When Gina Spence spoke about the children, that's something that's lost on us. What about the children who are left behind? I said many years ago when Perry Pockram was murdered, I said, the victim only feels the pain, if but for a few minutes, seconds. But the family that's left to live feels that forever. Last week, I asked, why are people so afraid to address the root cause? And people said, well, I don't think it's they're afraid. Last night proved my point that I'm not quite sure we know what the root cause is. We have a radio personality reaching out to me, and I'm talking to him this weekend and talking about, oh, well, let's debate on your podcast. This ain't a podcast. This is a talk show, bruh. It's number one. Number two, I'm not interested in debating issues impacting Bermuda's most vulnerable. This ain't about entertainment to me. I'm not here to entertain. I'm not here to go back and forth with people. Leave that to the politicians. What I'm here to do is have discussions about things that are impacting our community and how we can help. And ignoring problems simply because you need money from this person or that person isn't going to help it go away. When I look at the town halls, I'm going to play Fitzy now because I was quite happy to hear what he had to say.
Good evening, Fitzy.
First thing I'm gonna say is, I'm around a lot of stuff, and before they disrespect, a lot of it didn't make any sense to me. Right? Because what we need is solution. Solution means that we need to be serious, all of us, every last one of us. And if we're in this room because we're scared and we're not looking for solution, we shouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? The solution means that we have to get going and get going deep. You don't wait to be this guy at 16, 17. No, nobody catch me at 6, 7, and 8.
Yes, Fitzy.
Why not just go through this and say, oh, what's happening? We need to do something. We knew we needed to do something all the time ago.
Yep.
That didn't happen yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
These things should have been addressed years ago.
Yep.
But what's happening over here, everybody's scared.
Yeah,
Most of the people in this room is freaking scared.
Yeah.
Don't worry about me, I'm worried about me too. I'm worried about everybody else and how they feel instead of about these kids.
Yeah, Fitzy.
So you want to get real, because nobody's got time to make people lose their lives. So when they knock on one of yours was going on, it's a problem. But when they knock on the neighbors to it, it's okay, because you're safe. If one get real. There was that problem.
Thank you, Fitzy.
Absolutely. He was spot on. And I'll tell you why I resonated with him so much. I was waiting for someone to bring up the conscription and regiment last night. No one was that silly or ridiculous. But it's the argument I used to use with conscription. Fitzy said it right there. And I hate comparing humans to dogs, but we are all mammals. And the truth of the matter is humans are like dogs, right? In this respect. You don't wait till a dog is grown to train it. You train a dog as a puppy, right? That's how it works. You train a puppy. And so as it gets older, it adopts those behaviors. If you wait till it's grown, it's hard to train that, right? That's the point Fitz is making, and I've made it for years, is you don't wait till they get to teen years. You get them when they're young. You groom them into the people you want them to be in your society. He's absolutely correct. Like I said last night, and I think last week, and I might have even questioned the Deputy Commissioner of Police, why are we so afraid to address the root cause? LaToya Shelton took a post that she shared. I shared on Facebook the victims of the 43 murders, unsolved murders, and she spoke about trauma. We don't discuss trauma. I thought last night's town hall was a missed opportunity. It was a missed opportunity. It was. I appreciate that people were able to vocalize. I think Eugene Dean said something that again stood out, right? You know, he said, you know, his good friend Mark Bean used to say, in Bermuda, we punish success and reward failure. Yeah. So I'm not going to dismiss everyone last night. You know, I think Ms. Fox at the end, the white gentleman who spoke about the cost of living. Like, I just can't understand how the white gentleman that spoke hit the nail on the head. And everybody else, you know, one of the things a gentleman stood up and he said, open casemates back up. And someone texted me, said, Jamel, they don't get it because they're speaking about responding to the problem, not the root cause. And it's almost like it's gone beyond people. And that's where Fitzy got me in. Like, we're not, what is wrong with us psychologically? You know, when I was a child, I always thought all adults were intelligent. I used to think, oh, this person's smart, this person's intelligent. And then I was sitting at the bus stop by Western Stars one summer, leaving cricket camp. Sitting there talking to a fellow camp colleague. and we were arguing about something. So we asked, the gas station's across the street out there on St. John's Road. So we asked the pump attendant something. Now it's about 12, 13. And I knew the answer to what we were asking this gentleman. And I'll tell you, I remember what the question was. We were arguing whether or not Vermont was a state or not. And we asked the gentleman, bro, tell me something. Is Vermont a state? Oh, no. Vermont's not a state. It was at that point my trust issues in humanity began. You always saying, Hartman, seriously? That's when my trust in humanity, my trust issues began. And I'll tell you why they began at that point. Because as a child, 12-year-old, I realized that intelligence is not defined by someone's age, nor is maturity. And so when I hear people last night getting emotional and believing that time in the streets makes them more of a problem solver, or that being a prison officer and suggesting that we increase the punishment or open up more prisons, it hits me that we have a very uneducated community. And I've said on this show numerous times, I don't know the answers, but I'm happy to discuss things as long as we can have the courage to touch on the root causes. Last night, I didn't hear that. And it's okay, because people need to be allowed space to vent. I appreciate Brother Lamone and the Ashay program and the like. But as a community, we need some of our intellectuals in the room. And I'm not talking about the scholars. And when I say scholars, I'm not talking about people who have gone off to college and gotten degrees. That's not what I mean. Fitzy last night proved to me he's an intellectual on this topic. We need more Fitzes in the room. Eugene Dean, we need that kind of conversation in the room. What we don't need is people who know we have a problem, but praising those who deserve praise only because they are getting money from them. That's sick. Let's go to the audience. I'm sorry, audience. I had a lot to say this. I still have a lot to say. We've got to bring Maya as well. This is daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan Express and Secure. Dr. Anthony Richardson says, yes, they allow the people to express their views and even put forward solutions. Express their views, they did. Solutions, not so much. Richard Scott says, town hall meetings can be helpful if there's a declared objective and intended outcome with set timelines attached, achievable and measurable. Michael Daniels says town hall meetings should come as the culmination of smaller regional meetings that have allowed people to figure out what the meat of the subject matter really is. Jody Zool says Fitzy was spot on. Indeed, he was. He was a voice of reason. Charles H. Jefferson II, he says, Gina Spence comments, touched me, hearing that little children want to seek revenge for their father's death. What are we doing to put them on a different path? That's where hey, look, again, go back to Fitzy. These children will be adults soon. They will be teenagers. What is there a focus on that? Is there a focus on helping them? Richard Scott says town hall meetings are perhaps most effective and there's an actions required, engage the larger community. When we can't see the responsibility and value of our input, we are less likely to engage. Indeed, Michelle White says people used to look at us sideways when we answer that same question. We parent, we trained our puppy. I mean, it sounds crazy, but that's the reality. Jody Zool says the country is reactive instead of proactive. And that's the thing, Jody. Last night, it was a lot of reactive stuff. Like, let's casemates or this or that, and talking about punishments. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Dr. Anthony Richardson says people don't want to do the deep dive to determine the causes. They look to the end result and seek punishments for that end result. And that, to me, is why I feel we're in a bad space. Rhonda Trott says, I'll read it from the side. Ms. Rhonda is kind of long, but she says, we need to be appeased. It makes us feel better. We don't have to move or change our own position. If the money makers of this country had to pay Jamal's mother's a living wage, so she doesn't have to rely on proceeds of crime from Jamal selling weed at age 14. That's when you know all of those who came out last night really want change to get in part of the root cause. Let me just say this. Let me say this because I need to address this before we go any further. Last week, and we had a clip on our social media, and one thing I don't like about clips, they don't show full context, but it's what we do. But we had a clip of Deputy Commissioner Naima Aswood speaking about women. I hate that clip. I'm going to be very honest with you. I hate that clip because it doesn't tell the story of the conversation. It doesn't even explain why I asked the question, right? Let me be very clear about this. I don't dismiss anyone's experience. I just know what mine is. And let me tell you what my experience is. I understand and I see a lot of folks who are not there for their children, a lot of fathers who are not present. That's not my experience. It's not the experience of my friends who are fathers. Despite my two best friends who have had their issues with the law, these folks are fathers of the year. One to a daughter, one to two sons, who pour everything into their children to ensure that their children will live a different life and have the opportunities to take advantage of things they did not. Right? One raised on a lawyer, the other two, one in college, one heading that way. All of my friends are very present. And I don't even think present's the right answer because it makes it seem like, they just show up for them. No, they're there. They are in their children's life. That's not my experience. So when I hear people, responding to what Deputy Commissioner Naima Aswood said, let me just give you the meat of the question. The meat of the question was that quite a few people reached out and said, why are we not discussing the women who are involved? And Dexter Smith, the editor of the Royal Gazette, had said it numerous times before. That was the purpose of the question. The women who were setting up these gentlemen and letting them know where, this guy's leaving the club now and this and that. That was the purpose of the question about the real women playing this. So I want to be clear because social media clips will make you believe anything that you want to take from them. So men, speaking to you, I didn't come from a single parent home. My parents were never married, but I was surrounded with love. Everybody showed up to my football games, cricket games. That's the kind of structure I had. But I want people to understand something that I've been saying for years. When I would go to different corporations in the United States on behalf of Bermuda tourism. And they would say, oh, well, there's violence there now. And we would get into conversations about it. My mama worked 2 and 3 jobs. Right? But I had the family structure and not everyone has that. And then the men in my family, if they weren't there, it wasn't because they were bad parents. They were also working 2 and 3 jobs. What I'm trying to explain her, the root cause, when families have to support themselves and their families, sometimes they're not going to be present and children are going to be left alone. And I understand the privilege I had was that I had a family that was so together that they made sure I was taken to football training, picked up from training, went to Cub Scouts, picked up from Cub Scouts, or made sure I was on the bus to go to Cub Scouts, made sure I was on the bus getting off Cub Scouts. I'm not saying my family was perfect. I mean, I came from it. Of course it's not. I'm just simply saying there's different experiences. The root cause, had I not had the family structure that I had, who knows? Who knows? But we gotta address the root cause because there are families out there where people have to work 2, 3, 4 jobs. Not every black person's walking through the doors of an exempt company for the next 3 years before they get laid off, I'm gonna tell you, save your pennies because things are changing. Things are changing. But if you continue to ignore the role that poverty plays in this, if you continue to ignore the role and you make it about this father's thing and father, man, I worked up Elbow Beach. I worked 4 jobs one summer. But my uncle had the gas station on Kroll and 3 different jobs at Elbow. And there was a man up there, eyes bloodshot red. So what you doing? Yeah, this is my 3rd job. This man finished work 6 a.m., went to his full-time job at 9 to support his family. But yet he's not present in the household for his children. You all better stop that BS. Because not every man that's not present isn't out sleeping with another woman, doing drugs or so on. We have a community problem that we're ignoring because we've been taught to hate and question our community. I'm sick of it because we skirt around the root cause. We continue to skirt around the root cause because it makes us comfortable to criticize. It makes us comfortable to question. And because of someone's own experience with their father or the black man they know, it becomes okay. I'm going to tell you, like I said on Facebook when I posted that, and Instagram and my WhatsApp status, there's no diversity in that picture of 43 people. There's no diversity in that picture. And for you sick people who want to say, oh, this has nothing to do with white people and race, nobody's saying you blame the white person that sits next to you for lunch or works with you. That's not what we're saying. We're telling you to dig deep and understand the root cause of this problem and the role we can play in addressing it. I'm just sick of the disgusting surface level comments and lack of thought. And as long as I have this platform, I'm not going to tolerate it. I've touched the blood of a murdered in the street. It's funny because, I feel like Carla Zhu, my former colleague on this show, no matter how much her and I disagree, the one thing that brings us together is the people we've lost. We're not talking about people we just knew. We're talking about people who sat on our couches and questioned us about life. I don't like to get passionate about this. I don't like to discuss it, but I have to because of the way that we treat it. I shared last week with Deputy Commissioner, when I coached in Bermuda, all of the fathers but one was present most games. They all had parents. My experience is not the father not being there. I'm sick of it. And I'm not going to stop talking right now for anybody about this. Stop demonizing the people who need your love. And unless you have the courage to step up and have key discussions in and within our community, you're part of the problem. It's your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. I'll read a few comments in a second. Let's show them some love.
The daily discussion is brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Visit TitanEXBDA.com, your leading tour and transport provider specializing in Black History tours throughout the island. And SecureBDA.com for all your property management, waste management, residential, and commercial trucking needs. Professional, punctual, and reliable service is our commitment to you.
All right, you've got to bring my applause to you in. I'll just go through these last few comments. Ken Nair says, I love that for you. Majority of the fathers I know are not present. Fair. And anyone like that is not in my life. I've cut off friends for less. Wanae Crockle says, until we address the root, the tree will keep growing. Indeed. I really agree with that. Michael Daniel says, I believe that a large portion of adults develop their concepts of life, what life is, by the age of 9. I think studies have shown such. Kaylin Cannonier says, fix the poverty and we'd have better families. I mean, it's that simple. It should be, right? Charles H. Jeffs II, he says, The important thing to note is that a father can/should be involved in their child's life, even if the parents are not together. I'm an example of that. I realize it takes intentionality, on both sides. Family is key. Neighbors also looked out for children. Allocate Horton. Yes, someone said that last night. Dr. Anthony Richardson says poverty is at the core of what afflicts us. For decades, we have denied poverty exists in Bermuda. Aaron Smith says root cause, the social detriments of health, where we live, work, play, and grow, addressing SDOH through community-based initiatives and policy changes is crucial for comprehensive violence prevention efforts and promoting healthier, safer communities. Rashida Godwin will end on this here. It's internalized oppression, the James Baldwin quote, what the world does to you, if the world does it to you long enough and effectively enough, you begin to do it to yourself. Thank you all for that. Keep your comments coming, folks. We'll get to the rest later, but we've got to bring Maya Palacio in for Daily Hour News Break. Don't forget, we've got Dr. Carika Weldon coming up. Very important conversation. And I'm actually, what role does genetics play in all that we're discussing? Stick with us.
Good morning. Good morning.
Greetings, Maya. How are you?
You know, feeling pretty good this morning. Definitely engaged.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Did you get to watch the town hall at all?
Yeah, I watched the entire thing.
I meant to say, I know someone said in the comments, I breezed it, that there were not young people there, but I was happy to see people we know. Teray, I did see her in the back there, but the person was right. I thought that we would have seen more young people, especially how vocal people are on social media, but I digress.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. The demographic was definitely something talked about a lot while listening to the town hall last night. I want to jump into our news break this morning as we got time. We need our guests to come in as well. But just so you know, if you're running late to do any of your errands and you know you have a big household, a lot of people, and you just need to get in, get out, People's is probably the best place for you to go because it's free parking, easy access, in and out, and everything you could possibly need. Now, sadly, to start our news off this morning, we do have a tragic event that happened last night. That was a road collision that left a man dead. Now, police and emergency services responded to reports of a serious road traffic collision involving a motor car and a motorcycle on Malabar Road in Sands in the vicinity of Bose Island around 9:40 p.m. just last night. So the information suggests that the vehicles were traveling in opposite directions when the collision occurred. Tragically, the male motorcycle rider succumbed to his injuries at the scene. The female driver of the motor car has been detained on suspicion of impaired driving. Now, police are appealing for anyone who may have witnessed this collision to contact them and contact Constable Wallins on 717-2123.
You know, there's between that and shooting, just the hardest thing to wake up to. And every morning, and I know, Maya, you probably feel like this as well, because when we doing this show, you check your email to make sure there's nothing you missed. And these are the things you don't want to see when you wake up, folks. Trust me, it's not fun. And I just, honestly, I don't know who the person is, and I don't need to send all the love needed to the family community. I just hope that there comes a time where we don't have to wake up and report such things.
That would be a really great day for that to happen, Jamal. Now, for your major news this morning, as we previously discussed, and as Jamal was saying earlier, there was a town hall meeting last night. So here's a bit of a recap for you.
What we see happening in this country is we're not dealing with monsters, exactly, we're dealing with our own people.
His Excellency the Governor Andrew Murdoch, the Honourable Michael Weeks, Minister of National Security, and Darren Simons, Bermuda Police Commissioner, held a town hall meeting last night on gun and gang violence on the island to inform and answer questions and hopefully, with the community's help, come up with solutions. The crowd, a majority Black demographic, as pointed out by an attendee, with many community activists, former officers, mothers of victims, and concerned citizens spoke up while leaders for the majority listened. The town hall was sparked from the violent murder of Janae Miners and the many murders before.
There are 43 unsolved murders, which is a lot, right? I think you would probably be surprised that there's about 8 detectives whose primary role is investigating that. In other jurisdictions, a single what we call Category A murder could easily have 50 officers dedicated to that one investigation.
Only 5 people have come forward and spoke to the police about the murder of Janae Miners. Last night, it was made clear by audience members in agreement with community activist Eugene Dean that leadership is broken.
And generally, the governor's role in this country is symbolic. We like to take pride in the fact that we govern ourselves, even though we have our representatives from His Majesty's kingdom here. You being here tonight means that, right, our government has lost its handle on the community.
These forums, right, actually make no difference unless you disrupt them. So I apologize for having to be the one to disrupt this, because in the absence of this, we're going to make speeches for ourselves, and everybody's going to leave, and the reality in the streets going to stay the same.
Many voices had their own solutions, such as bringing back the Ashe program, putting money into casemates redevelopment, supporting groups who help within the community, and questioning how police identify a suspect. One particular voice called Westgate a party house, as many called for lack of discipline and rehabilitation. What was also most prominent was a man who came forward who claimed to run gangs on the island back in the 80s, and his story.
Back in the 80s, I ran gangs in Bermuda. Yeah, I'm a small guy. But you know something about gang leaders? It's how stupid you are in the head that will make people follow you.
He shared that just yesterday, prior to the town hall meeting, he actually spoke with 2 gang-affiliated members on the island, and they shared with him why the gangs are currently killing around the island today.
One was in his late 30s, one was in his mid-20s. The 20-something-year-old said to me, he said, "You'll never believe this, Uncle, but the war that we are having right now, from east to west and anywhere in between, is over girlfriends, jealousy, and jokes that people couldn't take lightly. They took it personally."
Ending gang violence and the conversations around the matter is not a new discussion, as was stated many times throughout the night. The nearly 3-hour town hall ended abruptly with only a small closing remark from the minister that violence thrives in silence, and a mention of more town halls to follow. For those who are curious and wondering, well, what's going to happen next, we encourage you to watch the full town hall, as well as engage with those who spoke up and what they are doing within the community.
Mm-hmm. I have nothing further to say. I said all I said earlier. Yeah.
Now we're just gonna go right into the sports, because on Friday night, as most people have probably known now, or even were at the event, the 2025-2026 Premier Division football season did kick off at Bernards Park between reigning league champs North Village and Devonshire Colts. Now, North Village had a ceremony to celebrate the new field lights and had recently been installed, and local dignitaries, club VPs, and historic players were in attendance for the celebration. Now, while Village lost 2-1, there was a fight that broke out at the end that was wildly populated over social media, and what most likely will be the only thing that people recall from the night. However, before such events, our team went out to celebrate and to record the moment, speaking with new president of North Village, Mr. Tankard. He shared his hopes for the youth development of the club, and we want to share that message with you guys right now.
I'm excited about the youth program. We've restructured the youth program, and then we've seen, fruitful results so far. So I think it could only grow from here. So I expect for it to thrive. Less focused on winning and more focused on developing, not just footballers, but men, young men, disciplined, resilient, and perseverance, and those type of things. So we hope to develop young men into strong young men.
So there were a lot of great moments that did occur before this, and obviously so much, positive impact that these clubs really want to have on the young men across the island, and things that, a lot of people probably would like to celebrate and to see more of. Obviously, at the end of it, there was some sincere apologies from both clubs for what happened at the end of the celebration and what was supposed to be, just a great overall positive night for the community. So we definitely want to make that mention here, that there was an apology and there was a mention of a full investigation to also be had.
Yeah. Is there 2 hurricanes heading to Bermuda? Because I think I've been living under a rock.
Yes, there are actually. The weather has predicted that most stores actually that there is going to be a long, strong wind starting later this evening, really Tuesday. So you're going to probably feel the most effects of it tonight. Strong, heavy winds as well. Some gusts, some gale force winds too that will most likely be coming up. And I know a couple of stores will be closed on Wednesday as well due to the impacts that it will probably have for us tonight.
All right. Thank you for that, Maya. Today, real quickly, we've got Dr. Carika Weldon reading. It's International Podcast Day. I didn't know there was such a day. But it's also Pet Tricks Day. But for the interest of podcasts, I said it earlier, and Maya and I have spoken about this before. This is not a podcast. Just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's a podcast. It's a talk show. It's Bermuda's only daily, engaging daily talk show that's streamed daily, folks. There's a difference between a podcast. I think we label anything that's internet-based a podcast. Podcasts, just go look it up, how they came about. It's really a RSS file of audio that's shared throughout the internet on different platforms. So I kind of want people to understand the difference between a podcast and talk show. Obviously, there's video podcasts now that people put out. This is not one of them. We are a daily talk show. And I just want to ask everyone, since this isn't a podcast, what is your favorite podcast? And also, I must mention, on our friend Rosalind Famous, she says it's also International Translators Day. Hug your favorite translator. We're giving Rosalind a big, you can see it, right? You can feel it. Big hug on the mic, folks. Happy International Translators Day. I'm still trying to, translate from Bermudian to English, so I need some help with that. Joke, because I know Rosalind's very famous about that. But Maya, do you have a favorite podcast?
I do. I have two favorite ones, and I can't remember the name of the second one or the first because they both recently, well, one of them recently changed their name, but they used to be Horrible Decisions. Now it's something else. Oh, Decisions. And the second one is this news podcast I like to listen to most mornings. They come up with something every single morning. It's really short. It's about 10, 15 minutes, but yeah, it's really, really good and informative. Yeah.
Okay. I haven't really gotten into podcasts. I don't say I have one, but Mark Arthur C. Phillips says the Forever Arsenal podcast is my fave. What's it like, 2 minutes, or comes on every second day of the month? Arsenal like come in second place. Rosalind says she got that hug. We've got the challenges, including being a parent. Is that a podcast, Michael Daniels? Or is he just talking about something else?
It's a nice title name for
yes,
it is.
Yeah, I think so. WKD Lama says favorite podcast is the Jeff Teague 520 in the morning. Okay, cool. We've got Rosalind Famous says favorite podcast, How I Built That Entrepreneurship. Hold on, I think I have a book called that. No, it's Built to Last. Sorry, different. All right, Josh Johnson and Chris Cuomo have a podcast. Josh Johnson, he's a comedian. My stepmom sent me him on what's it called? TikTok back in April. Man, Maya, you heard of him?
No.
Anyway, she sent me back in May. No lie. He had 2 shows this past weekend here in Atlanta. And I went for tickets. Bro was sold out at an additional show, sold out. Couldn't even get there. I was like, man, how my stepmom's in the cool and knows all the good stuff and I don't? No shade. But then, Maya, I don't know if you saw Friday's show. Before you go, I got to ask you this. So you all know I'm not the brightest bulb in the chandelier. So there was this word on Friday's show where everyone was trying to get me to pronounce it, body dust, right? Yeah, body dust. Yeah, that, the green bottle, body dust.
Body dust?
Yeah, body dust it's a great, see, Maya don't even know what it is, right? Because you old people, right? It's this green bottle shower gel or something, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so these folks didn't let it go, Maya. They called me, harassing me weekends, people getting my number from people, even Nana Pam, Pamela Red couldn't call just to laugh at me because I couldn't pronounce it. So that said, you don't know what body dust is, man?
No, I don't think I've ever heard it.
I've never heard of it, folks. So I just think what you all should do is accept that people over 55, that's a you thing. And for Sherry Vanderpool, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, this is how you spell it. You never seen it?
Nope.
Body dust. Okay. Yeah, it was a big thing. All right, Maya, you have a wonderful day. We got Dr. Weldon coming on. I'll see you soon.
All right. Safe and blessings to everyone during this weekend as well. See you soon.
Absolutely. All righty. Maya Palacio, folks. If you've appreciated the conversation so far, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. taking a quick break. Dr. Weldon, hopefully she's got time for us because she's coming in very late, but very important conversation with a very important person. We're talking genetics, folks. Stick with us.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
Ready to take your financial game to the next level? HSBC is here to help you power up your financial fitness. Your strategy should be sharp and ready for anything, because luck won't get you to the top. Whether securing your future, growing wealth, or planning for life's next serve, HSBC's experts are here for you. From budgeting to investing, let's craft a plan as unique as your goals. Plus, get free financial planning consultations to stay on track. Learn more at hsbc.bm/financial planning. HSBC Bank Bermuda is licensed to conduct banking and investment business by the Bermuda Monetary Authority.
Take a look at our workwear for construction workers and tradesmen. Durable, stretchable in all the right places, and plenty of options for tools and accessories. Paired with our wide range of tough and comfortable footwear, you can't go wrong. As you can see, Medical House really is a one-stop shop for everybody. We can't wait to see you.
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
Discover Drop It, your go-to grocery delivery. Browse and select from a wide range of groceries, from fresh produce to daily essentials. Our friendly drivers deliver fresh groceries to your door fast, saving you time and hassle. With Drop It, you get fresh groceries delivered fast so you can focus on what really matters. Drop It, freshness at your doorstep, delivered to your door with Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Get ready for the cool Bermuda nights ahead. A CI-AC mini split AC unit from BAC Group is the perfect solution, keeping you warm this winter and cool all summer long. While supplies last, you can get a unit starting at just $913.50. Plus, receive an extra 10% off when you pay with cash or credit card at the counter. BAC Group, comfort for every season.
SCARS stands for Saving Children and Revealing Secrets, and we are a Bermuda nonprofit organization whose mission is to reduce the risk of child sexual abuse and to be an advocate and a voice for children who've been sexually molested, as well as their affected family. New media like the Daily Hour is really important in partnering with organizations like SCARS. It's another platform for us for awareness. There can be no radio silence as it relates to child sexual abuse, and we need as many initiatives as we can get. We need to keep this message alive. In terms of us and the work that we do, live engagement is good because it allows the audience to ask questions, to make comments, even to provide us with encouragement and support. What I love about the live engagement when SCARS is being interviewed by Jamel is just this feeling of safety, this feeling that he gets it. He cares about children. It's a connection.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Big Show. Jamel Hartman here. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindo's, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. Folks, don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the community, beyond the mic, sorry. As we do our part to improve our community. Without further ado, let's bring our very special guest today. We are grateful for her patience. Welcome, give a warm TDH welcome to Dr. Carika Weldon. Greetings, Dr. Weldon. How are you?
Good morning. I'm very good. How are you?
Well, I'm fine. First off, thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience. Honestly, we appreciate it. Unfortunately, they gave me a day off yesterday, and then we had the town hall last night. But you're more than just like this person in a box who lives in a box, right? And focused on what you do. You have opinions on what's going on in our community. Did you have anything you wanted to add to the conversation as far as this morning's discussion?
I think the first thing I wanted to say is, it's definitely something that needs to be discussed. So I was very happy to sit here and just let it happen, because we need to get it out. A part of just healing is letting out, the emotions and letting out these conversations. So I'm very happy to have done that. I think it's a lot of parallels between what we're seeing in the community in terms of, gang violence and being reactionary, and also with our health. And I was seeing those parallels as we were talking. But it really, to your point, it really comes down to being community. And, I've had some of my family members, I'm from the Gibbons family. So, I have some of my family members who are in it, and, there were actions taken, like sending them away to get out of it, and those drastic measures were taken to save their life, but it helped, and I can say I have some of my older male cousins around because of actions that my grandmother took years ago, so it's about let's come to this solution together as a community. And I'm just glad that people are able to at least express, and let's keep the dialogue going. I think that's a key thing.
Thank you for that, Dr. Weldon. Again, like I said, you're definitely not a person to put in a box. You're very well measured in your comments as it relates to many things in our community. But today we're here to discuss something that I feel like everyone in our community should know. And audience, if you haven't already, make sure you share this conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues, because I don't think people quite understand, first, before we get into it, what exactly genetics is.
Yes. So the first thing I'll address is what it isn't. So it is not short for Carika genetics, which everyone who meets me thinks it is. It's not. It's short for Caribbean genetics. And really the whole mission is to make sure that us who are from the Caribbean, of Caribbean descent, that we're not missing from the conversation around genetics, and not just the conversation, but also the data, because we have been missing very vastly, to the point where when I have spoken to people in the industry, like big pharma companies, they're like, oh, isn't there like 100,000 people in the Caribbean? And I'm like, no, we're double the size of Australia, 46 million people. And they're like, oh, so really whoever's in charge, I say it all the time, whoever's doing the PR for the Caribbean sucks. They need to be fired. And we need to make sure that we are not forgotten. Like, I think a lot of people think of us as, oh, it's a nice place to go on holiday. We have the fastest man in the world. We have some good music and maybe some good food. But they actually forget about the people. And again, that was a parallel I was drawing as we were talking. Bermuda is its people, and we need to make sure that we take care of our people, because nothing else matters, right? That's the heart of who we are as a people.
What inspired you to start this work, and what obstacles did you face early on?
So this actually came out of, it's been a sequential kind of progression to this. So the first was when I was teaching in the UK. I had heard about a program that happened in Iceland. And it was called Decode. They tested a lot of people. I think at the time it was about 3,000 people from Iceland, looking at their genetics, and they had really good genealogy. So that's family histories to go with it. And because Iceland is secluded, it was a really powerful project. And I just remember thinking, well, Bermuda is secluded like that as well. And we're really genetically diverse. So it would be pretty cool to study as well. So that was back in 2017. Then obviously when I came back for COVID, I always knew that I wanted to bring research back home. I had been away in the UK for 12 years at that point. When I came back and I saw, number one, not just in Bermuda, but in the wider Caribbean, that we just didn't have the capacity to do genetics. And that was really important when we had the different strains of the virus and trying to figure out what was going on. We were 6 weeks behind, trying to figure out what was happening, which is useless in a pandemic. And it wasn't just here, it was everywhere in the region that, okay, we need to fix this. And then on top of that, when the vaccine came out, obviously there was a lot of hesitancy, rightfully so. And the main thing was, well, this hasn't been tested on people like us. And I was just like, none of the medication that any of us are taking has been tested on people like us. And I remember see people's reactions, the horror. And I had to say, well, some of your hypertension medication, so high blood pressure medication, it says in black and white ink, this may not work for Black people. It literally says that. And it was just like, what? So, realizing that we are left out and people didn't know, that's really where Carry Genetics was birthed and said, let's actually create this low capacity, number one, own our own data, keep it for ourselves, like gatekeep it because we should, and make sure that we're included in the global conversation and design of drugs because we currently are not.
You know what's crazy? And I know that those who want to act as if we're equal and equitable and the like, well, we all bleed red, we're the same. And folks, I always like Trevor Noah's quote. It's okay for us to be different. It's about still respecting us beyond our differences, right? And I think, our DNA and genetics tell us we are different from other races. Each people carry different things, and that's okay. But I love that this is happening. My hope is that more and more people are paying attention to what is happening here, because for years we've been given so many different medications that simply aren't for us. But I want to touch on the DNA part though, because genetics is often seen as highly technical, right?
Yes.
But in practical terms, how can understanding one's DNA change how we prevent or treat disease?
Your DNA is your manual. So when you buy a new car, when you buy a new tool, or anything that is new, it comes with a manual, right? Our DNA is our manual. It's the code to how we build everything in our body. And I want to just say as well, it's not just for determining disease. It's also what's the best diet I should be on? Like, how should I be exercising? Right. So it's even like beyond just disease, but into our lifestyle. And the way I kind of like to describe it is, is like a cookbook, right? Like, it's like, this is the recipes. So like, if you follow this is going to work for you. And we're not looking at it. So what we're doing is we're stabbing in the dark and we're just guessing. We're just, winging it when we have an actual instruction book. And so that's really the power of genetics is let's just read the manual. Let's go back to how we were built and let's follow the instructions rather than trying to make things up. And that's where we've gone wrong because also everyone's manual is a little different. So what's good for you is not going to be good for me.
Yeah. Audience, if you have any questions or comments for Dr. Weldon, send them through. But this goes back to kind of, I said earlier about the violence and addressing the root cause, right? What Dr. Weldon's doing here is actually attempting to address a root cause and how Black people and people of Caribbean descent have been treated over the many years, right? Because again, Big Pharma are they studying us? Are they studying our genetics? But let's go a bit deeper if you can on the fact that many medical treatments and tests are based on populations of European descent. Why is it critical?
Let me tell you why it's critical. The whole field of genetics called pharmacogenetics, which as the name suggests is to do with the pharmacology or the, how the medicine works for you. So in studying this, it was discovered that now because the dosing, like when you have, that initial dose that your doctor prescribes and is, recommended, because that was based off of Europeans. The issue in this case is that actually 85% of Europeans do not metabolize that drug correctly. So it stays in their blood longer than it should. Now, what does that mean? It means that the average dose that is being prescribed, if you have at least one working copy of that gene, which about 50% of us, in the population we tested in the Caribbean have, you need at least double that dose for it to work. So if you've been given an organ transplant and you're given half the actual right dose because no one studied, to test that you need a higher dose, that organ transplant may fail.
Right.
You see, this is as simple as it can kind of get, and why this is so important, because those who have European descent are actually the abnormal group in this situation. They have 2 copies of that gene that does not work, but yet they're used as the standard, right? And we know 85% of the world are non-European. So actually most of the world don't need that dose. They need the higher dose. So this is why it's super important that we're included, because it's not only that we need drugs designed for us, but actually the ones that have been designed that do work, we actually may need a different dose. And sometimes it may not work properly. So it's so crucial. And I'll give another example. So this is on the oncology side. There's a drug for breast cancer called tamoxifen. At the minute, it is prescribed to pretty much every woman in the Caribbean that has breast cancer, right? From our data that we've tested, people in the region, about 40% of women should never, are told not to get tamoxifen from their pharmacogenetic result. Why? Because it's not actually treating them because of how they metabolize. So you think you're getting cancer treatment and you're not. So it's it's super important that we actually take into account these differences, because it is a matter of life and death.
Audience, how are you feeling hearing this? And I'll get to your comments and questions in a bit. Yeah, this is a tough pill to swallow if you're really digesting what Dr. Weldon is saying, because I'm sure many of us in this audience amongst the TDH community have been given medications over the years. And again, not the fault of doctors. Doctors are only given what they have been told or, is going to work for people. Dr. Weldon, let's speak about what surprised you since you've begun doing such research. What successes have surprised you most so far, and which challenges remain toughest at this stage?
I think what surprised me the most is actually how embraced I've been throughout the Caribbean. I don't know why, I just didn't expect it to be so easy, to be honest. When I show up and I speak about these things and they're like, where have you been? And I'm like, been around. But, it's just that the community that we have in the Caribbean, and I know there's a whole other topic about is Bermuda Caribbean, and we're not going to get into that. But, although we're not in the Caribbean geographically, we have evidence from our prostate cancer study, over 50% of all the men had Caribbean grandparents. So, let's not get into that. But, just the camaraderie and the sense of community, and it's like, let's do this together, because we are all small little islands, and we can't really do much by ourselves. When we do it together, we're more powerful. I think that's been like a real overwhelming realization that I've had in doing this. And when it comes to the challenges, it's really just around education. There's so much that we don't know, and it's just sometimes I'm like, well, where do we start? You know what I mean? But it's doing talk shows like this and, getting on the radio and just propagating the message. It's really going to have to be a grassroots thing. And it's exciting when you have that conversation and people get it. And it's like, okay, another one. They got the importance. And then, they go and pass it on. So yeah, I'm just excited for this journey. And, we're about to have a big announcement in the next few months. So I'm excited to share that when it's ready. But it is about to get real. It's about to get real.
we hope we're part of the announcement. But I'll get to the audience in a few. But how do you see genetics playing a role, not just in medicine, but in preserving ecosystems and confronting things like climate change?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question, because we at Carika Genetics, so we do all the human stuff under Carika Genetics, but we also actually have a biodiversity organization called BioQuest, which actually is a nonprofit, was birthed out of Carika Genetics, because our initial project, as you may remember, was on our cahao. So, so our national bird, we did the reference genome, or looking at the genes fully for the first time. We've done a population study. We've done the reference genome of the skink in collaboration with a PhD student from Manchester Metropolitan University. And just recently, I gave a talk a couple weeks ago with the Bermuda National Trust, because we've done the reference genome of our cedar tree. So it's, understanding what is going on with these different species. And once you understand, again, the manual, then you can actually help to conserve them better. Interestingly enough, we have our first cahao paternity case that we're in the middle of determining, which may not seem like very important for conservation, but because the cahaos is so little of them, actually making sure that we know who the father is and who the mother is and make sure they're breeding correctly is super important for making sure there's genetic diversity. So I actually really enjoy that part, because it's easier to talk about. We can get the children engaged, and it's actually a lot faster to get the work done, because it doesn't need, lots of people. We could just, get to it pretty quickly. But it's really important. It's really important to make sure we use that capacity on that side as well, because a lot of what we call parachute science happens on both sides, the biodiversity and human, where people come in from the north. It could be, Ivy League schools and, small, really nice names, and they come in and say, oh, we're gonna help you. All they're doing is getting data to write another grant and get some money, and we in the community don't get nothing. So that's something that we're really, really keen on, is local capacity.
I didn't have Maury Povich doing Kahals in 2025, but I like that. I like that.
I'm telling you, it's a thing. It's called Who's Your Daddy? You got a video and everything.
I love it. It takes me back. Mr. Johnson in primary school spoke about genetics of like inbreeding with like tigers in the wild and so on. Like, yeah, so it took me back. Let's go to the audience real quickly, Dr. Weldon. Manuela John says, have you had conversations with the medical community about the differences in health concerns related to genetics?
Yes, we have. I actually launched our clinical genetics lab last September, so about a year ago, at the Docs for Dinner event that Dr. Yu Brown puts on every quarter. So we're in constant conversation with the medical community. Some of them actually use our service for testing for cancer and things like that. But there is, again, so much to discuss. So the pharmacogenetics, actually, I'll be giving a talk next month at the Mental Health Foundation conference on pharmacogenetics and how that impacts mental health medication. So it's a constant thing.
Perfect. We've got Renee Simmons. She says, we are all subjected to different foods, some that one may be allergic to and someone else possibly in our family may not. Does genetics help us define what foods are beneficial to us?
Yes, it's called nutrigenomics. So that's a subset, again, of genetics. We actually have a test called Food for You, which is a nutrition DNA test. It's actually one of the most popular tests that we sell. You can get it on our website. It's really key because also to her point, not everyone metabolizes food or processes food the same way. And so actually understanding that from your genetics is definitely a key piece to understanding that.
All right. We've got Rosalind Famous asking, how are you able to grow your sample size? Do you get smokes from all the islands?
I think she means samples. I know I've had that same autocorrect happen to me in emails. So yeah, I mean, what we tend to do is when I go to a country for the first time, engage with the medical community, with the Ministry of Health, with all the key stakeholders. And a lot of times I go because there's a conference. And what we do is we give away free tests at conferences, and then that gets people engaged because they actually see the result themselves. And then like I said, we have a big announcement coming. We are going to be doing a very big pilot very soon across various countries. And I mean, we're doing the Caribbean Genome Program, which is our big pilot project, which is 250,000 people by 2030 who are in the Caribbean. So that's really our goal and what we're working towards. And it really is just about educating, getting governments on board, and then being able to facilitate this in as many Caribbean countries as possible.
Thank you, Dr. Weldon. And we've got another one. Manuela John asking, are you or anyone else available to the general community to determine whether the medication and treatments are correct for them?
Yeah, so if you go on our website, you can actually get our pharmacogenetics test. It's called Meds for You. So you can purchase that right now if you'd like. And I am one of the people that can, meet with you afterwards. And we actually are just bringing on a consultant pharmacist who would also be able to speak to that. But we're really excited that this is now finally available because it is so important. From our data, we've had 80% of people we tested that have now found out there's a medication that they should never be taking.
I'm looking forward to having more conversations because I've watched a lot of Dateline 2020 and kind of learned stuff from there about this. So having you and like someone in Bermudian doing this for me is quite incredible. In such a small community, but also taking it beyond Bermuda into the region. But Dr. Weldon, gotta let you go. But before I do, look, things like this have breakthroughs all the time. What breakthroughs or shifts would you like to see in Bermuda and the Caribbean over the next 5 to 10 years, both in science and in public awareness about genetics?
I actually had this conversation on Sunday night. I met with some civil servants that were here from the Caribbean. And when I explained it to them, they were like, so in 10 years from now, we have a completely different Caribbean, right? We're not reacting, right? And that's, again, a big piece of what we do in Hawker. We react to stuff. that's why our costs are going up, because we're actually reacting to all the new things that we're seeing. And actually, we're ahead of the game. We have a test that can tell you a lifetime risk of disease. So instead of you waiting and just hoping for the best, you can actually see it and prevent it. So 10 years from now, we're in a position where genetics is, commonplace, and, this conversation is an easier one in the Caribbean, and it's accessible to everyone. And that's a key thing as well. And it's being used, to improve our healthcare, to improve our life, to make sure we have the right medications. And we're reading the handbook, right? I think that's the key. So I'm excited for where we're going. And if anyone wants to learn more, please reach out or go on carrygenetics.com.
Dr. Weldon, thank you so much. And yeah, I'm looking forward to having further conversations with you about this. I think the work is not just incredible, but it's extremely important for our well-being as a people. So thank you. And we'll definitely be in touch. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, Dr. Carika Weldon, folks, whatever platform you're streaming on, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. We're going to take our final break right here, but don't go anywhere. We've got a daily play, and we'll wrap it up with my final thoughts in a few.
Considering the increasing challenges faced by financial institutions, the need for insurance protection is a critical component of the risk management framework. At Friesenbrook, our priority is to safeguard your assets with the most optimal, cost-effective risk management cover to help protect your business, whether it be cyber, directors and officer liability, professional indemnity, or property insurance. Call us on 296-3600 to learn more about our full suite of competitive corporate insurance products. At Friesenbrook, we provide insurance you can count on.
Dreaming of expanding your business? With BDC's Loan Guarantee Program, we support your ambitions. Get up to 75% guarantee on bank or credit union loans up to $300,000. Just your vision and our support. Apply today and unlock new business opportunities. BDC, Bermuda business starts here.
Looking for the best care for your pets? Novazog Feed and Supply has everything you need, from top quality foods to toys and supplies. We've got it all. Join our frequent buyer program and earn rewards every time you shop. Plus, we've been awarded the Clever Customer Initiative program for helping you save more. And don't forget, we open an hour early on Saturdays so you can get a head start on your pet care. Visit us today or shop online for easy pickup or delivery. Your pets will thank you.
All righty, welcome back to the Big Show. Thanks again to Dr. Carika Weldon for stopping by for such an important community conversation. Definitely appreciate it, folks. If you want more information, go check them out. They are doing some important work in our community and throughout the region of the Caribbean. Folks, I want to give a big thank you and shout out to the BAC group of companies, Medical House, Linda's, People's Pharmacy, and HSBC for ensuring that we can do this with you on a daily basis and pump through the radio airwaves on Hot 107.5 with these most important community conversations. It is time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right, it's a thing. It's a remember when today. It's a remember when. All right, folks. Here is the question. It's a remember when. Microsoft was founded in what year? Microsoft was founded by Bill Gates and Paul Allen in what year? You know what I like and appreciate about Mark Arthur C. Phillips? He doesn't Google. I know he doesn't Google. It's not 19, and he makes himself vulnerable. It's not 1979. It's not 1985, Rosalind Famous. It's not 1964, Shikarina, but it is Dr. Anthony Richardson, 75. Yes. Renee Simmons, not 1990. It's 1975, Mark Arthur C. Phillips. Yeah, 1975. I think that's a big thing. I mean, the same way how Dr. Weldon is making history with Carry Genetics. That invention changed history, changed the course of how we, communicated with one another. So appreciate that very much. All right, folks, let's wrap it up. As far as the conversation earlier, look, it's not a matter of criticizing people's ideas, thoughts, or feelings. I think, and I've said this numerous times, people are allowed to feel how they feel as long as their feelings, their thoughts, and actions are not causing harm to others, be it physically, mentally, or emotionally. However, we have a crisis on our hands in Bermuda, and that crisis requires us to go beyond the surface to solve the problems that are impacting our community. I understand and appreciate why people believe we should focus on the consequences. I get that. But while we focus on consequences, it's important for us to go toward the root cause and save further generations from being impacted from the violence that we're experiencing today. As far as the conversation with Dr. Carika Weldon, I am grateful for the work that she's doing. For years, I always did wonder, like, I wouldn't ask out loud, because when I ask things out loud like that, other people aren't ready for the conversation. So they, think it's crazy, and it's not helpful. But I'm glad that she's not just asking the questions, but she's searching for answers, and she's looking for solutions, not just to help us once we're sick, but help us prevent getting sick. We mentioned different diets, right? There's so many fad diets throughout the world. But it's one thing I learned from Tamara Richardson when she came on this show during the pandemic. She spoke about vitamin D. I didn't know that the darker the skin, right, we were more likely to be vitamin D sufficient, like we needed it more. And that's something that I feel like the research that Dr. Weldon is doing is needed and helpful for us to know these kinds of things. What vitamins should we be taking? Those things as well. So thank you to Dr. Weldon for the work that she's doing. Daily inspiration. I'll just leave you with this. It was the quote that Eugene Dean said his good friend Mark Bean used to say about Bermuda. He said, in Bermuda, we have a tendency to punish success and reward failure. And I just want to encourage every person in our community to let's start recognizing all that's good amongst us and having the courage to correct that which isn't. All of our problems start within us. All right, folks. Don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindo's, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves on Hot 107.5 with these most important community conversations. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. Again, whatever platform you're streaming on, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are is out. Peace.